The richest man in Italy pretends to be homeless in New York to find true love. This is the wild reality for Pharaoh Olivetti, a man living an ultra-rich, luxurious lifestyle. We see him flying his own private helicopter, landing seamlessly on a snow-covered mountain to enjoy some deep powder skiing. He collects rare and valuable items, plays high-end sports, and goes on glamorous dates with beautiful women, all while piloting his personal plane. Once we see how smoothly his life runs, the scene shifts to a large building where Pharaoh enters and has a serious business conversation with his trusted right-hand man and helper, Lawrence. Pharaoh makes a brief phone call to a business competitor and casually instructs Lawrence to buy 5,000 company shares for a staggering $60 million. There is an important meeting that Pharaoh is scheduled to attend, but feeling indifferent, he tells Lawrence to handle it instead. Next, Pharaoh heads to a lavish pool party. He flirts with a beautiful blonde woman and hangs out with a charming couple. Suddenly, his mother calls him with somber news. His father is incredibly sick and wants to see him right away. Soon after, Pharaoh is on a plane heading home, listening to his own voiceover narration telling the story of his life. He explains that he was born in Italy but moved to America, where he built his massive empire and became a wildly successful businessman. He mentions that his father has always been worried that Pharaoh will never find true love because he is constantly surrounded by fake people, money, and superficial women. Pharaoh finally arrives at his parents' estate and greets his mother. She sadly informs him that his father doesn't have much time left. Pharaoh walks into the bedroom to say hello to his ailing father and leans over the bed to share a few heartfelt, final words. However, his father has one last, unexpected wish. He wants Pharaoh to leave everything behind for an entire month, to live without a single penny, and without using his wealthy family name or influence. Pharaoh naturally wonders why he should subject himself to this, but his father insists, wanting only his promise. Pharaoh gives him his word. Tragically, his father passes away right after, and Pharaoh says a difficult goodbye to his grieving mother. Honoring his vow, Pharaoh tells Lawrence that he will be completely off the grid for the next 30 days. He then swaps his regular driver's license for a basic chauffeur's license. Pharaoh arrives in the bustling streets of New York City, carrying nothing but a single, medium-sized travel bag. He immediately tries to get a humble job at a local pizza parlor, but the owner turns him down right away. Later that night, he visits a local bar. He sits at the counter and starts eating some olives next to a pretty blonde woman who is sipping a Cosmopolitan. They strike up a conversation. Pharaoh introduces himself as Claude, which is actually the name of his real-life personal driver, and carefully keeps his profession and living situation a total secret. Unfortunately, the blonde quickly loses interest and walks away from him. Fortunately, a slightly overweight but incredibly sweet brunette named Peta steps in to talk to him. She may not possess supermodel looks, but she has a genuinely friendly heart. When Pharaoh mentions that he has absolutely nowhere to sleep for the night, the kind-hearted Peta promises to help him find a place. When they arrive at her apartment, they find another woman fast asleep on the living room couch. Peta doesn't explain who the sleeping woman is and tells Pharaoh to head straight into her bedroom. Soon after, Peta changes into her prettiest lingerie, feeling romantic and wanting to kiss him. To gracefully avoid the situation without hurting her feelings, Pharaoh fabricates a lie, claiming that he is gay. Later that night, Peta begins snoring incredibly loudly, making it impossible for Pharaoh to fall asleep. He decides to retreat to the living room, but his presence accidentally wakes up the other girl on the couch. Startled by a strange man standing over her in the dark, she becomes absolutely terrified. The chaotic misunderstanding causes the two women to finally kick him out into the night. As Pharaoh walks the lonely city streets, two neighborhood bullies suddenly jump and attack him. Using his reflexes, he fights them off and successfully climbs up a nearby fire escape to safety. The thugs escape, but a resident inside looks out and sees a strange man staring through her window, prompting her to call the police. The authorities arrive, arrest Pharaoh, and keep him in a holding cell overnight. The next morning, they finally release him because the police managed to catch the two actual criminals who attacked him, and Pharaoh's story completely matches the evidence. Meanwhile, A woman named Diane is walking down the street and gets an unsettling feeling that someone is following her. Flashbacks and quick images reveal a traumatic past event where a man tried to harm her. Feeling panicked, Diane knocks frantically on her mother's door and rushes inside, finally feeling safe. Diane's mother gently suggests that it is time for her to start dating again and wants to help her meet someone new, but Diane is completely closed off to the idea. Back in the park, Pharaoh ends up sleeping on a bench all night. The next day, he finds himself with just 50 cents left in his pocket. He tries to buy a hot dog at a food cart, but realizing he doesn't have enough money, the kind vendor takes pity on him and gives him the hot dog for free. Suddenly, a delivery van accidentally bumps into Pharaoh. The young, apologetic driver, Fred, helps Pharaoh up and they start talking. Pharaoh admits that he is desperate for any kind of employment. Fred mentions that one of his wealthy clients is currently looking for a private driver, so he generously takes Pharaoh straight to the client's house. There, they encounter Curtis, a rude, arrogant man who treats everyone poorly, in the middle of a bitter argument with his wife, Kat. Once the shouting matches finish, Pharaoh steps up to introduce himself. Curtis demands that his new driver must be willing to perform other household chores and spend time catering to the family's whims. Desperate for the job, Pharaoh agrees to the harsh terms. Curtis's wife mentions they need an extra bartender for a party they are hosting that very evening, and they quickly hire Pharaoh on the spot. Pharaoh spends the entire night serving demanding guests and washing piles of dirty dishes. He is completely exhausted and drained of energy. To make matters worse, at the very end of the night, Curtis forces him to drive one of his intoxicated friends all the way home. While on the road, Pharaoh secretly calls Lawrence and instructs him to secretly distribute a $5,000 bonus to every single one of his real corporate employees. Pharaoh has never had to work a hard day in his life, and the experience gives him a new appreciation for the working class. When Pharaoh returns to his staff room, Curtis's wife, Kat, is waiting for him. Suddenly, Curtis's spoiled daughter, Nancy, knocks to seduce Pharaoh, forcing Kat under the bed. Before anything happens, Curtis pounds on the door, causing Nancy to hide in the closet. Curtis tries to charm Pharaoh, but Pharaoh cleverly fakes a highly contagious illness, scaring Curtis away so he can safely usher Kat out. The next day, Pharaoh drives Curtis to his office and crosses paths with a cold, unfriendly Diane. Hoping to show his good intentions, Pharaoh anonymously sends her flowers. Soon after, the selfish Curtis demands Diane immediately fetch his forgotten briefcase from his mansion, completely dismissing the fact that she has a funeral to attend. When she arrives at the estate, she runs into Pharaoh, and Curtis orders him to drive her wherever she needs to go. In the car, they introduce themselves. Pharaoh apologizes for their rocky first meeting and admits he sent the flowers. He accompanies her to the funeral, which ironically becomes the perfect icebreaker when a clumsy priest makes them both laugh. Afterward, over coffee, Diane lets her guard down and reveals her husband was killed in the Iraq War. When Pharaoh drives her home, they share a tender kiss right under her parents' watchful eyes, agreeing to a real date on their day off. But Curtis cruelly revokes Diane's day off, forcing her to work while Pharaoh tags along. Meanwhile, a bitter Nancy lies to her father, claiming Pharaoh hit on her. Outraged, Curtis fires him. Sick of his cruelty, Diane stands up to Curtis and quits on the spot. Outside, Pharaoh explains the truth about Kat and Nancy, and a grateful Diane invites him to dinner with her family. The dinner is incredibly awkward. Diane's traditional parents grill Claude about his bleak career prospects, and things tank further when they learn both just lost their jobs. Afterward, a smitten Diane admits she'd rather be alone with him. Soon, while Pharaoh packs his things, they decide to launch an independent real estate agency together using Diane's savings. Channeling his real corporate background, Pharaoh upgrades her business plan into a genius strategy. To celebrate, they go out for drinks and a slow dance. Back at her apartment, things heat up, but Diane abruptly stops. She tearfully reveals a painful secret. After her husband died, a predator lied about knowing his final moments and severely took advantage of her vulnerability. Pharaoh holds her close, offering deep comfort. Weeks later, their new agency is booming, but Pharaoh gets an urgent call from his assistant, Lawrence. Their family empire, Olivetti Enterprises, is facing a hostile takeover. Pharaoh flies to California, effortlessly takes back control of his multi-billion-dollar empire, and flies straight back to surprise Diane. But just as he arrives, Kat suddenly rushes in and kisses him. Diane walks in at that exact second, misinterprets the embrace, and their relationship completely breaks down. With his 30-day challenge over, a defeated Pharaoh returns to California. Realizing wealth means nothing without her, he flies back to New York to clear up the misunderstanding. They reunite, and Diane agrees to move to California with him. When they touch down, Pharaoh unveils his massive estate and his true identity. Diane doesn't care about his money. She sees the same kind, humble man she fell in love with. Transformed by his journey, Pharaoh proposes, realizing he wants to share everything with her. They get married in a gorgeous ceremony, surrounded by friends. The story leaves us with a timeless lesson. Money can buy almost anything, but it can never buy true love. The movie ends here. If you enjoyed this recap, please don't forget to like the video, leave a comment with your favorite part, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible movie summaries. Thank you all for watching.